The following program is rated 14 plus and contains scenes of violence and mature subject matter. Viewer discretion advised.
In the past 6 years, I didn't have a whole 12 months where I was out of jail.
Can a life of crime
I killed my uncle in a vicious way.
be erased by a prison sentence?
I'm not my criminal record. Those crimes and my conviction were well over 20 years old.
What does it take for a convict to become a contributing member of society?
I've got to change my life, make some drastic decisions.
Does a debt to society ever get paid in full?
Does one mistake define the rest of your life?
My name is Christina Howard, and I've spent more than a decade covering prisons and jails.
One of only 5 prisons for women in Canada and home to some of Canada's most notorious killers.
I've spent time with sex offenders trying to rehabilitate themselves, investigated how motherhood looks like behind bars, and exposed networks of corruption and gang influence on staff. I've devoted much of my career to finding out what happens behind bars. But now I want to know what happens when criminals get out. What happens on this side of the barbed wire? Does Corrections Canada actually correct behavior? Can a convict transform into a law-abiding citizen? Or are they destined for a cycle of criminality and creating more victims?
So we're almost at the Bowden Institution. It's a prison for men about 100 kilometers north of Calgary. And it's actually a pretty big deal. Media does not easily get into a Canadian federal prison. It's taken us almost a year to get in here. And what I'm really excited to find out about is how their carpentry program here is helping to turn murderers into actual skilled tradespeople, and how they're going to help these guys that have committed so many crimes in the past or been convicted of heinous crimes actually contribute to society in a meaningful way and without creating more victims.
On any given day, there are about 13,000 convicts serving time in one of Canada's 42 federal prisons. Most of them will get out. In 2020-2021, only 86 inmates were sentenced to life or an indeterminate sentence, meaning they've received a dangerous offenders designation with no exact release date. But most inmates will be out within 5 years. Back on the streets, back to their families, back to their friends, and back in our neighborhoods. 700 men are counting the hours at Bowden, waiting to get back to life on the outside, whatever that looks like for them.
Okay, so this looks a little bit like a summer camp, but it's actually a federal prison. Convicted murderers, drug traffickers, gun traffickers, and even pedophiles live in these cottage-like dorms. Now, it's not exactly what you would think of when you hear the word prison. I mean, they share kitchens, they make their own meals, they do their own laundry. There's even a baseball diamond and a tennis court and a basketball court. But here at Bowden, just like in many federal institutions, the goal is not just punishment. It's actually rehabilitation. And for many of those, work plays a key role.
Most of the offenders here at Bowden Institution have to be employed. They do have to have a full schedule, so there could be programs or school, some sort of employment with different, garage or maintenance, groundskeeping. So they do have to stay busy, and we're just one of those programs that are available for them.
Jeremy Griffith runs Corcan's carpentry division at Bowden.
You have your nailer for the back?
Yeah, I have everything ready to go.
It trains inmates, and the inmates make products for sale and the government.
They have a difficult time getting back in society, but if we can provide anything we can to them, basically as a taxpayer, we all pay for offenders to be in corrections, so we're programmed to help them get out and become off of the taxpayers' funding at the corrections. We've done our part.
Federal incarceration costs taxpayers about $130,000 a year per male inmate, and more than $220,000 a year for a female inmate. Now, programs like these aren't about recouping costs, but about teaching inmates trades and skills for when they get out, and some of them are very basic.
We have jobs that they come to every morning. It starts with soft skills and then obviously the task skills. So getting up in the morning, coming to work, having a shower, brushing your teeth, those are like the soft skills. And we try and mirror what the construction is on the road. So they will come to work, we do skill training. It can be hand tool safety, forklift driving, telehandlers, roofing, framings, everything from start to finish for construction. We try and capture all of that knowledge and skills for them.
And why is that important?
Well, the idea at the end of the day is that an offender can learn those skills. They can be released from an institution once they cascade their way to eligibility for some kind of release. Hopefully then they'll get a job with a construction company, and then they won't be coming back to the institutions.
Offenders who take part in these programs are more likely to be released on day parole, meaning moving to a halfway house, which is considerably cheaper than prison time and is largely considered a safer way to reintegrate convicts into communities. But they are also more likely to get jobs when they get out. And convicts with jobs are less likely to commit more crimes, meaning fewer victims. John McKill heads up Corcan operations in Alberta. He's been working in corrections for over 20 years.
The more people we can get out on the streets without coming back to jail, I think that's a win for everyone. It's tax dollars saved, and someone else is filling a job that needs to be done.
Ultimately, you're helping fight crime, because if people aren't committing crimes, you're having fewer victims.
Yeah, I guess there's a aspect to that, to rehabilitate them to get off of what they've done to get here. We're part of the solution at the construction side.
It doesn't always work out. Chris Reed has only been teaching here for a few years.
How many of the guys that you've worked with over the last couple of years have you seen come back and forth?
4, and you just know they're coming back. They're institutionalized. You know, you teach them. So they're good when they're here, but as soon as they leave, you know, not all of them, but a lot of them, they'll just go out and reoffend to get back in here.
The biggest success stories in programs like these are the guys that don't come back. Men that leave with skills to help them succeed outside of the criminal world. But they think that they have a Cinderella story in the making, even if the odds are against him.
He's come a long ways, actually. We've taught him. He knew a little bit of, you know, carpentry when he got here. But one thing about him is, when you teach him something, he retains it. Troy, he'll ask questions, and he's got a plan when he gets out. I hope he fulfills it, but at least he has a plan.
I'm on my way to go meet Troy Cryer. Now, when he was 27 years old, back in 2013, he actually killed his uncle. So he's eligible for day parole at the end of the summer, and his stat release date is actually early 2025. So he's on his way out. And I want to know how a man who's spent most of his adult life behind bars can actually be ready for life on the street.
What I have done that night, there's no like rights to make up to that. You know what I mean? Like I killed my uncle in a vicious way.
What was going on in your life?
I was a alcoholic. I still am, recovering alcoholic. But I was a binge drinker. You know, I wasn't a guy that can just have one beer. When I drink, I would drink for weeks, months even. And leaving the life that I only known at that time was the gang life, my negative influences. I had to leave them. I had to leave that life before. But at the time this all went down, I was still in the process of leaving. So my mind was still in that mentality of a gang member.
Why are you incarcerated?
Right now I'm incarcerated for a manslaughter conviction.
Do you want to talk to me a little bit about that?
I killed my uncle in a vicious way. Yeah, I was like all riled up and stuff, so with a baseball bat in my hand. So I jumped over my jumped over them and I grabbed him and I hit him a couple times in the head. So yeah, I started accusing him of this and that, and he was saying it wasn't true, and it just got out of control really quick. My dad's side of the family pretty much disowned me, you know. I can see, you know, I can see why.
If you could talk to your uncle, what would you say to him?
I'll tell him I'm sorry. I would tell him I'm sorry. I would hug him. And I'll tell him that it wasn't supposed to go down like that. Yeah, I'll tell him I'm sorry.
Troy confessed to killing his uncle, but he maintains that family is the most important thing in the world, and he's working hard to get back to them.
I missed out on my boys. I missed out on the birth of my son. So pretty much, you know, life as, you know, as a father, you know, as a cousin, as a brother, as a son. So I missed out a lot.
Well, you came in here and your kids were so little.
Exactly.
And you're coming out and you're going to be a grandfather.
Yeah, and I don't even got gray hair. Not yet, anyways. You know, but I gained so much.
What did you gain?
I gained my life back. I learned so much. I'm getting my education in here, you know. I'm doing my grade 12 right now, and I'm learning new tools I can use in the workforce.
What's your plan for getting out? What do you want to do?
Well, you know, I want to seek employment right away, right? I want to get a job. I want to get my children back in my care. I want to fight hard to get my boys back, you know, and that's one thing, that's one of my main goals.
This all sounds good, but can trades training turn somebody with a violent criminal history into a positive force in the community? To find out, I'm heading to rural Alberta. It's where Mike Hendricks, a man who has spent 20 years in and out of jail and prison, has recently set up shop.
Now, he's been out of jail for almost a full year. His most recent conviction is for attacking a man using a hammer. So, you've never lived on a farm before, not a farm boy.
No.
How much has this played a factor for you in your success?
Again, like a person is a bunch of pieces to make a whole. It's an important piece. Yeah, I feel really at home here. It's nice, near the earth, you know. I feel being around the animals, especially my dog. I love my dog.
You could tell,
yeah,
like your dog and you are best buds, eh?
Yeah, oh yeah, he's awesome. Great animal, so I'm so happy I got him.
What about the horses?
I'm excited to try riding them. I've never been on horses. I ended up going to the, doing a pen bit, 4.5 years actually, Grand Cache. And when I got, that's where I learned to weld, did my first year welding.
You did the welding program?
I did the welding program, I did my first year there. They come in and they apprenticeship people and they test you.
So how'd you do?
Oh, I did good, really good.
Did you pass?
I was top of the class. Oh yeah, of course I passed.
So when you did get out, did you find yourself welding?
Yeah, no, I got a job. And I worked there for, I think 6 months, and I ended up breaching. I got high, and I got sent back to the jail for a year. So when I got out, I went back to the same place, and they hired me back. So I worked for a year at that point, and then I got into the fentanyl, and I lost my job because I wasn't showing up. Once I lost my job, I was just, I'm going to become a drug dealer now, you know. And I was successful for a short time, for a year. But then things went downhill, and I'm on Calgary's Most Wanted, and it wasn't good.
This isn't all that surprising. While employment can help reduce reoffending, recent studies show that more than 70% of convicts living with addiction end up back in jail or prison within 3 years.
If I didn't have drugs, I was so sick. So I was stealing catalytic converters, I was doing, you know, property crime, that's mostly, and selling drugs at first, but when my addiction was so bad I couldn't manage that, I just did property crime. In and out of jail. I usually out 6 months, in for 4 to 6, out again for maybe a year. I wasn't out for more than a year in the past 6 years. Yeah, I didn't have a whole 12 months where I was out of jail. It'd be every 6 months to 10 months I was in and out.
Your last stint, what was that for?
That was assault with a weapon. I was in a psychosis and went after a guy with a hammer. I mean, he was aggressive towards me, but I could have killed him. I mean, even the judge said that you got so lucky, because I was trying to, but that's how out of my mind I was. I wasn't thinking as consequences, and that was a wake-up call too. If I'd been an inch higher, I could have killed him. I'd be doing many years. And I said, after this, I'm done. I've got to change my life, make some drastic decisions.
Step 1, get sober. Step 2, stay sober. Step 3, get an education and a job.
When I was getting close to the end of my sentence, I saw a woman coming in talking to other prisoners there pretty regularly. So I asked the guards, who is she? She said, the John Howard Society. And I knew a little bit about what they did, so I asked her, what programs do you have for when I get out? And she said, well, we've got this LEAP program.
The Learning Enhanced Employment Program, commonly called LEAP, is geared at helping convicts find work.
I took that LEAP program as soon as I got out. I got my first aid, I got my forklift ticket. By that point, I'd already, my father gave me the money for school to finish my last block of schooling. I just finished that and I got my red seal. I'm a journeyman. I still need some of my hours, but all my schooling is done for everything.
Now he just needs to get a job. But it gets me thinking, what is this LEAP program and how successful is it at turning convicts into civilians? Today, I'm heading to the John Howard Society of Calgary. The not-for-profit operates in most major cities across Canada and works with people who've come into conflict with the law. Most of their adult clients have been convicted of crimes.
Today, we're going to be talking about keeping a job. So I've passed out some scenarios of some things that might happen on the job, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we would resolve those scenarios.
I'm sitting in on part of the LEAP program. Today's topic is conflict resolution in the workplace.
Judy is serving a customer and her supervisor continues to correct her as she prepares the coffee. It feels like that she can't do anything right. She's being patient and polite, but slowly the supervisor is starting to get on her nerves. Me personally, I would talk to the supervisor right there, even in front of the customer. I'd ask him to show me how it is that he would prefer it to be done, and do it by step instead of waiting until later. That's me now, not me 20 years ago.
So what would you have done 20 years ago?
I probably would have quit the job. Right then and there, I would have said, well, then you do it yourself, and walked out.
People come here because they want help with certain areas of their lifestyle.
Deborah Nowakowski is the Director of Programs for the John Howard Society of Calgary. She says employment is one of several factors impacting criminality, and getting a job with a conviction isn't easy.
It's challenging to find work and get back on track.
Michael Andrew Scott knows this well. He's spent most of his adult life in federal prison, and his release prompted a rare public safety alert. He's a high-risk offender, convicted of multiple sexual assaults, aggravated assault, and forcible confinement. He's also the subject of a long-term supervision order, meaning police are watching him closely. He's been out since 2015.
How hard has it been for you to get a job in the past?
Quite hard.
Why do you think that is?
Because I have a criminal record. And a lot of people don't want to hire people with criminal records, or maybe my presentation, the way I present myself, doesn't really come across as an enthusiastic person that's really interested in having a job. I just kind of mediocre it.
So what are you going to do now that you've finished this program?
I am going to try and get into the trades and hopefully get a full-time, long, permanent job. That's my hopes in this.
You don't think that your criminal record is going to impact that?
Nope. I don't think it's going to impact it, because I'm not my criminal record. Those crimes and my conviction were well over 20 years old, and I shouldn't have to live in the past. I should be able to, like anybody else, get a job.
Some people are going to watch this and think, why are we helping all of these criminals? They made those choices. They should be held accountable.
And they have been held accountable. No, they've been held accountable through the criminal justice system. They've been charged, they've served their sentence, they've gone to jail, they've done whatever. They're on probation. They have been held accountable. Does one mistake define the rest of your life?
It's a good question, which led me to think of Daniela and her son Charlie. I met them a few years ago while filming Prison Moms, a documentary that examined motherhood from behind bars. At the time, Daniela was raising Charlie inside the Edmonton Institution for Women, while she served a sentence for attempted armed robbery. She got out 2 years ago, and I caught up with them as Charlie was celebrating his 6th birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Make a wish. Make a wish. Good job.
How important is it that you're here for Charlie every day?
It's everything. I'm all he has. Like, I know that he's been dealt a lot of like unfair hands in this life, and in his short life he's been through a lot, and like I just want to do better and be better for him, and it means everything that I'm here with him. Yeah, I've been turned down by like 6 daycares in the last 6 months.
Because they see his record?
No, well, a lot of it's behavior, yeah. We just found one. I thought I found one for the summer, and he went for after 2 hours, I got a text saying that it wasn't gonna work.
What do you think the biggest lesson is for Charlie coming out of this?
I hope that he sees that like the crime and drug lifestyle is not cool and not like glamorous, and a lot of the time it's made to look like that in movies, and just like the way that people talk about things and online, and like really he sees it every day. Like we go and volunteer at a church on Sundays and feed homeless people there, and like I've been homeless, I've been in that situation, and like, you know, and he sees that, and he sees all the people that I know getting sober and staying sober and helping other people to stay sober. And like I just hope that he grows up thinking that that's, you know, a way better way of life.
Daniela found her better way after a brief stint as a nail technician. That job didn't last long, but she discovered that she could use her skills in fashion and makeup in the world of cosplay and OnlyFans, a place where her criminal record couldn't stand in her way.
When I got out of prison, I was put onto Alberta Works, and I had, you know, social supports. I get rental subsidy. And then I started doing OnlyFans at the end of 2022. And that was like my main thing for quite a while. A lot of people think that you just like post a couple nudes online and you make a whole bunch of money, and it's like, yeah, if you're already famous and you have 100,000 people that really want to see you naked, then absolutely you're gonna make a ton of money like that. But it's not the reality of it for like small creators, people that are like just starting out. So I've been doing that now for a couple of years. I did stop doing it full time when I started getting into the makeup and nails a lot more. Now it's just kind of like one of the things that I do. I am going to do a Harley Quinn cosplay.
Okay, so how long does that usually take?
It takes a couple hours. When it's just me, it takes quite a while sometimes because I have to set up all the lights and everything on my own, and it can be pretty time consuming.
So why do you do this?
I just really love portraying my favorite characters. I get paid to play dress up all day. It's like what I've always wanted to do, really. I love dressing up. I love to do different characters, different styles, and I have a lot of fun with it.
Who's paying you to do this?
Currently, most of my income does come from OnlyFans. So I'd post a lot of reels and TikToks, and like that sends me a lot of traffic to my paid pages. But I'm really working towards becoming more of an influencer on social media rather than just doing like the spicy content, because I find that I like to do like all of it. I really like to do just creative Videos, it's my favorite. This part's like the hardest because it's hard to really blend the white and make it look really nice, or sometimes it takes a long time. It's all about the consistency of the face paint and like tweaking the consistency for what you need to, for what kind of style of makeup you're doing. And this part this is just how I like to do for all my makeup and my cosplays. Like kind of an anime eye look. And sometimes when I do Harley Quinn, I just like kind of cover my tattoo and then I do her heart over my tattoo. So it's easier that way. She's been one of my favorite characters for a really long time, and I like really relate to her a lot. But yeah, she's just such a badass, and like especially now that she left Joker, like she's just an awesome chick, and I think she's not even a villain in my eyes. I've been having a lot of requests lately for Harley Quinn chewing bubblegum and blowing big bubblegum bubbles. Have you always wanted to see Harley Quinn blowing big bubblegum bubbles?
These probably weren't the sort of skills Corrections Canada intended for her to develop in the textile plant at the Edmonton Institution, but the training actually did help Daniela in her off-the-beaten-path career choices.
I also had some like employment skills training programs that I did in there as well. The sewing definitely helped with my cosplays and stuff. Now I've been able to use that in like making some of my costume stuff, and you know, like it was something that I'm sure is a useful life skill. A lot of things that I learned in the programs for like calming myself, or like when I get overstimulated, how to like, you know, reground myself, stuff like that, that at that time I was kind of like, oh, whatever. Now I like remember that, and it like really helps me, and it helps me with stuff with Charlie too. I also took a lot of parenting programs when I was in there in order to do the mother-child program, and those have helped a lot with stuff as well.
One thing Daniela quickly learned outside of prison is the key to sobriety and towing the legal line is where you live. In her case, hundreds of kilometers away from where she got into trouble.
Don't go home. Don't go back to the place where you were arrested. Do not go back to the place where all of this went down, where everything went so wrong, because like just for me, like that being away from that, and not like, I feel like if I would have went back to Lethbridge, I still would have fallen back into the same routine. And honestly, majority of the people that I was partying with before, the ones that are still alive, they're still there in the same place doing the same thing. So if I would have went straight back there, I feel like I would have ended up back in the same place doing the same thing.
So we were going to meet up with Mike and join him this week as he went through a series of job interviews. But he had one meeting on Saturday, and that turned into a job interview, and they actually hired him on the spot. So today's Monday, and we're actually going to meet him after his very first day of work in several years. Good. How was your first day working, man? Awesome. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to do some welding, putting in like rails in the mall, in the main entrance up the stairs. So do a bunch of TIG welding, so it was really good.
Lunchbox.
Yeah.
You already have it. Where'd you get that?
Ken gave it to me. It's his lunchbox when he worked for the city. For
That's awesome.
Years. Yeah, no, really happy.
So this is your first day of work in what, 8 years?
8 years. Yeah, legit work. Good. I was working with a younger guy, and yeah, showing him how to weld, and it was really good. No, really, it's gonna be really good here. Small shop, good atmosphere.
All right, so want to go home?
Let's go.
All right.
Yeah, it feels good to be back to work, definitely.
I bet.
And like today, he went over the job with me, the boss, and then it was up to me to do it. I had a helper, like right away. They're looking up to me. How do we do this? And that's kind of nice, you know. And I remember that when I was a welder before too. They had a helper working with me, and it's nice to be kind of looked up to, and you know, for my skill set.
Out of the city and back to the ranch, where Mike feels most at home, with his dog Harry and Kenny. A retired rancher who rented out his basement to Mike and who quickly became family.
I went out and worked on a mall. We were putting all the handrails, I was welding in all the brackets for the handrails. It's going to work out really good, that job. Really good.
Tell me about what your dad said when he found out that he got a job after just one interview.
Oh, he said he wasn't that surprised. He knew I could do it, and he's proud of me. That was about it.
How'd that make you feel?
It was good. It was good to hear my dad show a little emotion.
Why?
Because he's very reserved, never did much when I was younger. So it's nice to know I made him proud for him, a change.
What do you mean by change?
Well, the last 20 years I've just been on and off drugs, and I'm firmly entrenched in my new way of life now. There's nothing that would tempt me to go back. You know, I love every day when I wake up and I'm not sick. I can do really freedom. I can literally do whatever I want. I went out and got a job. I went and did my gun course. I'll get my license in May. I have freedom and choice to do whatever I want now. It feels great. And like today, I started my first day and I got someone helping me where I'm the lead hand, basically. You know, that feels good, and work as a team with somebody and just live a normal, I don't know, it feels really good.
Feeling good and even having a job doesn't always translate into safe community reintegration. There are a lot of pieces to that puzzle. What's needed in order to be successful? If you come out of prison and you want to, lead a crime-free lifestyle, what do you need to do?
I'd say you need a network of support. So you need some support in reintegrating back into community. You need some support in attaining employment. And you need a whole wraparound approach to reintegration. And some of that might include rebuilding relationships with family members that have been broken. Getting to know your children again. Repairing relationships with your family members or friends.
Mike has been doing just that, rebuilding a relationship that's been strained over 20 years, hindered by drug addiction and bouts in jail.
You get a phone call in the middle of the night, probably high. Mom, I'm in jail. You're not going to hear from me for a few days. Come and see me. Can you bail me out?
Right.
Or whatever. And then I'd come down and see him. And I'd go through the humiliation of being frisked and go through the scanner and, follow the rules and all that kind of thing. I was an emotional wreck, really.
For like a decade?
For 2 decades.
Oh, wow.
He's been on drugs for 20 years. It's been a long, long time. And in and out of jail. I mean, that gets to be like a revolving door. Because he's in the system and he's out, and then he's back in and then he's out. That's good though.
Yeah, it's nice not to have to worry about that crap ever again.
That's for sure.
I hope that guard that gave me the cleaning job sees this show.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Because I told him I'm not going to be back, and he kind of rolled his eyes a little. Okay, they all say that.
Yeah.
But I knew that
Well,
time
I'm
I
sure
wouldn't
they-
be. I
they
knew
hear
it.
it,
I
right?
said that was the last time. How much sugar? A third of a cup? Like how much more?
2/3. 2/3.
So another 2/3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hattie, would you have thought, 3 years ago that Mike would be coming in here showing you his favorite recipe, sober and
Never.
I didn't think so either.
Never in a million years. I continued to hope, and it's awesome.
I surprised you when you give up.
It's a very difficult transition because he was a somebody in his
community,
drug community. He was a somebody. They looked up to him. They'd because he was smart.
Yeah.
But when he's clean, he's not a somebody. He's just another guy, another person on the street, right?
That's the kind of scenario that Troy wants. When he gets out, he plans to return to Miskatchees, a large reserve of 4 First Nations, or maybe Wetaskiwin, a little further north, where his sister lives. But Troy isn't just counting on family to help him reintegrate.
I found my culture in jail, and I think culture is the one that saved my life.
Indigenous inmates have far worse outcomes than non-Indigenous inmates when it comes to the justice system. Despite accounting for only 5% of the Canadian population, 1/3 of all federally sentenced inmates are Indigenous. they're less likely to get parole or day passes, and when they do get out, they have a higher rate of reoffending. Now, to combat these outcomes, Corrections Canada developed cultural-specific programming, helping men and women connect with their traditions in hopes of leading them down a new path. Troy has embraced this.
So I'm on my way to the Smudge House at the Bowden Institution because I know that this is very important for many of the Indigenous inmates here, but in particular to Troy. So Troy, talk to me a little bit about this place and what it means to you.
Well, this is our smudge house here, where we come take part in our smudge ceremonies with the elder before we go into our sweat lodge. It's an important place for me and for all of us here because we get to smoke the pipe inside with the elder and interact, get to know each other, you know, and talk. And it's a soothing place, you know. Everybody gets along in there. I'll light it for us, and we'll go from there. It's the elders used to always like it quiet when you're taking part.
So washing my hands?
Yes.
And then letting it come over me?
Yes. It's like you're cleansing your body, your mind, getting rid of negativity.
How'd you get the feather?
Well, I worked hard. I earned it. Doing one-on-one consults, like more like healing, you know. Once I started doing the work, digging deep inside, you know, addressing what needed to be addressed, right? Working with the elder, and he had given me, for us in culture, it's like it means a lot more, sentimental value. So I was happy to receive it.
How did you do it?
I had to be honest. I had to be honest with myself, you know. When I look back on it, you know, it was a lot of pain, you know. I was hurt, not only for my family, but mostly of what I'd done, you know, the crime I committed. You know, it affected me. It broke me, you know, so it took a long time to rebuild. Because I could think about is, you know, the family that, you know, the family I took from, you know, I hurt. Not only did I hurt my own family, I hurt, you know, his family.
Where are you today? Spiritually, emotionally, you know.
Yes.
Where are you inside?
Well, right now I think I'm at peace. I found balance. The longest I ever stayed out of jail since I was 18 was about 12 months. That's the longest, you know. I'm 38, I'll be 39 in August. So, my commitments are what's going to keep me out. And I'm going to do some good, you know. I want to do some good with the youth. I want to work with them to, you know, show them that, you know, it's not all about drugs and gang life.
Mike is learning this now, immersing himself in a life so far removed from his childhood in northern BC and most of his life on the streets. The goal? To help out on a cattle drive in southern Alberta, on horseback.
You've been living on a farm for 6 months?
Yeah.
And you're finally gonna get on a horse?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna put one foot here.
Yeah. Okay.
And then grab here. And
Yeah,
just hop
and
on.
then swing on.
Come on. Boy, they really respond to the reins. They really respond to the little movement, eh? I didn't know you did like sounds to make them go.
Put that leg in the stirrup.
Okay.
Swing on the horse.
Can you keep holding the horse, please, Ken? Why don't we just have it like you just lead the horse?
No, you're gonna frickin' ride. Come back a day early and we'll put you in the parade.
I'm holding on to this right now for dear life, so.
Here you go.
Okay, that's.
Sit straight, sit straight.
But these new social experiences, how does that help somebody turn their life around?
It's having new activities that are positive and that can help you see that there's opportunities. So a lot of times people haven't had positive or pro-social activities to have been part of, and sometimes that leads them into, criminal behaviors, right? You're not involved in sports teams, you're not connected to people who are experiencing positive activities. So this, when people have that opportunity to experience yoga or experience going to the gym or things that are good for your mental health, it leads them in a different path of more possibilities. It's not about mollycoddling or taking away someone's responsibility for doing harmful events. This is about, okay, so you've made a mistake. You've in our traditional justice system, we ascertain what the punishment needs to be, right? And so that person has served their time. What we want to do is address the underlying causes of that criminal behavior.
Less than a year after Mike got out of jail, he's completed his education, gotten a job, moved to a ranch, is rebuilding his bonds with his family, and found a whole new circle of friends, many with 4 legs. Now, some of this came through rehabilitative programs in prison, but everything came from his own determination to do better.
Can't believe I got back on by myself. The first job I've ever had where I had a 3-day weekend. It's really nice.
And today, this former junkie, drug-dealing thief is finding his footing.
When I see the amount of gear you need for a horse and all that, I think it's cheaper to have an ATV and a lot less work.
He doesn't expect to ride off into the sunset anytime soon, but he is working hard to make sure he's paid his debt to society.